The guests whispered as Michael adjusted his daughter Lily's flower crown. He wasn't just a groom that day, he was a single father who had raised his little girl alone after tragedy took her mother. Today was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to give Lily the family she deserved. But the bride never showed. At first, people murmured excuses, traffic, nerves, maybe a wardrobe delay. But then Michael's phone buzzed with a cruel message. You really thought I'd marry a man with baggage? Enjoy the pity looks. The whispers turned to laughter from some corners. Michael stood frozen at the altar, his daughter's tiny hand squeezing his. Lily looked up at him, confused. Daddy, why is everyone laughing? His heart cracked. He pulled her close, kneeling so she wouldn't see his tears. Because they don't understand, sweetheart. But that's okay. We don't need them to. Just as the humiliation reached its peak, the heavy sound of engines roared outside. Guests rushed to the windows. Black SUVs lined the street, doors slamming in unison. Then came the thunder of boots, rows of Navy SEALs pouring into the churchyard, a sea of discipline and honor. Gasps replaced laughter. The very people who mocked him moments earlier now stood trembling. Michael rose, still holding Lily's hand, as the SEAL commander stepped forward, saluting. Sir, we've got your back. The broken groom suddenly wasn't standing alone anymore. The church had fallen silent, every eye locked on the soldiers who now filled the aisle. Michael blinked in disbelief. There must be some mistake, he stammered, clutching Lily close. But the SEAL commander shook his head. No mistake, sir. We're here because of you. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Michael, still reeling from the humiliation of his runaway bride, could hardly process what was happening. I don't understand, he whispered. The commander removed his cap. Years ago, when you worked double shifts as a mechanic, you fixed a broken-down van outside your shop. You didn't know the man inside was the father of one of my brothers. You refused payment, told him, just promise me you'll take care of someone else when they need it. That act of kindness reached us all. Michael's chest tightened. He remembered that night, cold, late, and with Lily asleep in the office chair. He had almost turned the man away, but something in his conscience wouldn't let him. The commander's voice grew firm. That man passed last year, but he told us your story. And he made us promise that if you were ever in need, we'd stand by you. Gasps filled the church. Guests who had mocked him earlier now shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Michael looked down at Lily, whose wide eyes sparkled with awe. Daddy, they came for us, she whispered. He nodded slowly, his throat thick with emotion. Yes, sweetheart. They came for us. The SEALs straightened in unison, a wall of loyalty and respect behind him. Michael realized something in that moment. True strength didn't come from who abandoned you, it came from the people who chose to stand beside you. The church was no longer filled with laughter, it was filled with stunned silence. Guests who once whispered cruel jokes now avoided Michael's gaze. The runaway bride's friends quietly slipped toward the exit, shame painted across their faces. Michael stood tall, his daughter's small hand still in his. For the first time that day, his humiliation melted into resolve. He turned to face the crowd. You know, he began, voice steady but strong, I thought today would be about a marriage. About blending families and giving my daughter a home filled with love. But life has a way of teaching us lessons in unexpected ways. He paused, his eyes moving across the faces that had once mocked him. Some of you laughed at me when I was left standing here alone. But let me tell you something. I was never alone. Not when I had her. He lifted Lily's hand gently. She looked up at him, beaming with pride. The SEAL commander nodded silently, his men standing like guardians behind the altar. Michael continued, true family isn't about who shows up when the party is perfect, it's about who shows up when everything falls apart. That's what love is. That's what kindness is. Lily whispered, just loud enough for everyone to hear, "I already have the best family, Daddy." The words broke the tension like sunlight breaking clouds. A few guests wiped their eyes. The organist, who had been silent since the chaos began, softly pressed a key, filling the room with gentle notes. Michael knelt beside Lily, kissing her forehead. "Today, sweetheart, we didn't lose anything. We gained the truth." And for the first time that day, the church erupted, not in laughter, but in applause. The applause faded into murmurs as the SEAL commander gestured for Michael to follow him. "There's something else you should see," he said, his tone carrying a weight of secrecy. Michael hesitated, still clutching Lily's hand. Together, they walked past rows of awestruck guests, through the heavy church doors, and out into the sunlight. What greeted them made Michael stop in his tracks. Parked in perfect formation were 100 black SUVs, their polished frames gleaming. But it wasn't the vehicles that stole his breath, it was the people stepping out of them. Veterans, families, widows, and children, all carrying banners, flowers, and smiles. One elderly woman pressed forward with tears in her eyes. "You don't know me," she said, voice trembling. "But you helped my son years ago when he was stranded on the road. He told me about your kindness. When the call came that you needed us, I couldn't stay home." One by one, more stepped forward, people Michael had forgotten he'd helped. A single mom he once gave free repairs to. A young man he coached in Little League after his own father abandoned him. Strangers who had been touched by quiet acts of generosity he never thought twice about. Lily tugged on his sleeve, whispering, "Daddy, all these people came because of you?" Michael's eyes blurred with tears. "No, sweetheart," he said softly. "They came because kindness always comes back." The SEAL commander laid a hand on Michael's shoulder. "Today wasn't the end of your story, it's the beginning. You gave without expecting, and now it's your turn to receive." The crowd erupted into cheers, drowning out the pain of earlier humiliation. Michael realized this wasn't a wedding anymore. It was a celebration of something far greater, a legacy of love. Michael stood in awe, surrounded by people whose lives he had touched without ever realizing the depth of his impact. The humiliation of earlier seemed like a distant memory, washed away by the sea of gratitude that now embraced him and his daughter. One of the SEALs stepped forward with a folded flag. "This was my father's," he said, voice steady but thick with emotion. "He told me to give it to the man who reminded him that honor isn't just earned in uniform, it's earned in everyday kindness. That man is you." Michael took the flag with trembling hands, overcome by the weight of the gesture. Lily clung to his side, smiling proudly. "See, Daddy? You are a hero." Tears slipped down Michael's face, but this time they weren't from pain, they were from healing. "No, sweetheart," he whispered, "the real heroes are the people who show us what love and loyalty truly mean." The crowd began to chant, softly at first, then louder, "Family, family, family." It echoed through the streets, louder than any organ music or wedding bells could have ever been. One of the widows stepped forward, placing a hand on Lily's cheek. "Your daddy gave us hope when we needed it. Today, it's our turn to give that back to you." Michael lifted his daughter into his arms, holding her high as the applause swelled. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man struggling alone. He felt part of something bigger, a community bound by kindness, resilience, and love. As he looked at Lily's beaming face, he whispered a vow more powerful than any he could have spoken at the altar. "From this day forward, no matter what life throws at us, we will never stand alone." And this time, the world stood with him.